NCTV45, The Train, anytime on your time. The Cedars is a great restaurant with outstanding Mediterranean food. The Cedars takeout menu is second to none, featuring pizza, stromboli, hoagies, their famous lamb on the rod, and so much more. So when you're hungry and you want that Newcastle taste, make it Cedars. Now with 2 locations in Newcastle, 827 Addis Street on the east side and 1101 Highland Avenue. Call Cedars East 724-658-9260 or Cedars North 724-652-7657.
The Beanery Depot and Deli. Coffee, made-to-order subs, snacks, and more. Meatball sandwiches, fresh and hot. Pepperoni rolls, fish sandwiches, chicken, milkshakes. The Beanery Deli. When you're hungry for something special, and it won't cost you a lot of beans.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Cedars Sports Corner here on NCTV45 and NC Radio 450. We are the 3SN Fantasy Football Toolkit, and we definitely have a roundtable discussion for you this week. We're making up for some lost time, gentlemen. I am, first off, James the Saint Dotson. We have Greg the Mad Scientist Bashiro, and Alex.
So now you're the Saint.
Oh,
so
I
must be the value man this week.
Sure,
huh?
I guess
We're changing
so.
roles.
We are changing roles. I am the value man. He is the Saint.
I'm always mad.
He's just a mad guy.
And that's all there is to it. Well, gentlemen, we are through 3 weeks. We are a quarter of the way through the fantasy football season. Teams looking all right? Well, what are you seeing in your teams, Alex, in terms of the good and the bad?
This is the first time in my fantasy football career where it seems like all my fantasy football players are either hurt or suspended or in jail. So this has been very hard for me. So I've had to play the waiver wire pretty tight. And even on the waiver wire, I'm still getting outbidded. So it's a struggle. But, you know, I'm not in panic mode yet. I'm getting trades that definitely aren't like for like. And, you know, maybe in a couple weeks, maybe explore some trade options. But I'm willing to stick with the team I drafted so far.
Greg, how's the Mad Scientist doing?
Well, I'm starting out traditionally in the slow fashion. I always start out at the beginning of the season. And it's very difficult to really figure out, you know, where your players are game 1 and game 2 of the season. So game 3, I made some major adjustments on the lineup and got my point total to where I feel it should be at. So I feel very optimistic that weeks 4 and 5 are going to be much better right now. Yeah, I'm an offer right now, but you know what? You can get away with it. As long as you get that number 6 spot by the time it comes to the playoffs and you're in, that's all it's all about.
Exactly. That's all that matters. And I think really now that we've gotten into the bye week, starting here with week 4, this is where I think you really start to see who has a good team all around. First 3 weeks, you don't have a lot of, questions to make. But once you get into these bye weeks, it's really about how deep your team is. And if you haven't been playing the waiver wire, that's where you will start to struggle. So I think that's where you'll see the difference, especially with the Mad Scientist ruling the waiver wire. I think that's probably where it's going to be. Well, why don't we talk about the waiver wire first and foremost, then, since we are along those lines. If you are having issues, whether it be the injuries like Alex has or maybe the bye week starting to come up, is there anybody real big that sticks out on the waiver wire for you guys in this week especially?
Terrell Pryor really impressed me.
Yes.
And even with the fact that the Browns have been a very unstable team for as long as I can remember, they do have some good fantasy players this year. Barnage. And, now that Josh Gordon, that ship has sailed, Terrell Pryor, I think, had about 8 receptions, over 100 yards receiving. He's a player I pick up if I'm weak at the wide receiver position. He's not someone I go pick up just because I can, But if you are in a situation like me where, my roster's being depleted left and right, I definitely give him a shot.
And he doesn't have to be a plug and play either.
Yeah.
He's not necessarily that perfect go right in, but you could if he's bad, right?
Right.
What do you got, Greg?
I see tremendous value in Terrell Pryor. I mean, he can pass, he can catch, he can rush. He's that option in the Wildcat. I mean, just looking at his numbers last week, he ran for 21 yards and a score, and he caught 100. He basically had 8 passes caught for 144 yards. I mean, that's tremendous for a guy that couldn't make the Oakland Raiders and was basically bouncing around the NFL. I believe he's found a home in Cleveland. And this is the thing. Take a look at these last-place teams. Yes, they're going to score. They might not win, but you're going to see, like Gary Barnidge, tremendous tight end, excellent numbers. Mm-hmm. If you don't have him, get him on the waiver wire because he will give you value. He will get you points.
Absolutely, and he's not the only wide receiver available beyond Terrell Pryor. Jamison Crowder's had a couple big games scoring touchdowns. Guess what? He plays against that last-place Cleveland defense, so he might be a great pick. He gets 8 targets a game, so I really look at him. Cole Beasley also getting 8 targets a game. He's going to San Fran. What I really like about Cole Beasley, especially if you have issues, his points per game, 7, 7.5, 7.3. Very consistent, which if you're picking somebody off the waiver wire because you're in dire need, yeah, that's not huge breakout points, but in terms of somebody who I can pick up and play and know that I'm going to get points and not a goose egg, I guess I'll take that. Running back, what do you guys think of what's going on in New Orleans? Or I'm sorry, with Orleans Darkwa up in New York now with Vereen on the IR and just questions all around. He is essentially the goal line back now. Is he worth a pickup at this point?
I would look at him, but I'll tell you what, I'm not looking at him so much as I'm looking at Jordan Howard out of Chicago. What a pickup. If you can get him, he's only, it's like 1.3% of the leagues, he's been picked up in. But for the next 4 to 6 weeks with the main man out there in Chicago, he's going to be carrying the load, much like Christine Michael is up there in Seattle. But yeah, we just brought up 3 backs right now that are tremendous value backs that are going to get you decent points. Don't panic if your players are out.
Well, especially now with Rawls being hurt. Mm-hmm. So Michael's value definitely goes up, I think, quite considerably. And we were just talking about how many, how there's pretty decent players on Cleveland. It's almost coming to the point now, because I think Cleveland's defense is so bad, maybe when you're thinking of a flex option, see who is going up against that Cleveland defense. So if you have a running back going up against a Cleveland defense that is 27th overall in yards, a back that you might not start 1 week, or a back that's been underperforming for you, like a Matt Jones, I think it's definitely a lock to start, at least in your flex roster.
I think it's taking it maybe a little bit too deep, but yeah.
I don't think at all.
No?
I don't think at all.
Okay.
27th defense in yards overall, I think that's quite, astounding. I'm not saying put him as your number 1 back in general.
Yeah, it definitely is a flex option. Though. Yeah, I agree
that's what
with
I'm
that.
trying to...
Right.
You want to talk about bad defenses to play against? Don't forget about New Orleans, who can't stop anything at this point. Mm-hmm. How about tight end? Hunter Henry, available in 95% of leagues. He's playing against New Orleans this week. If Antonio Gates is out again, there we go. There's another guy maybe at another position you can go and pick up. Quarterback, there's always quarterbacks out there. What do you think of Simeon? Is he somebody you go out and get?
Well, that's something we can discuss in the next segment here because I think we're going to be going to commercial break here.
We are. Let's take our first break. When we come back, we will finish up talking about these some of the waiver wire pickups, and then we'll answer some of your start-sit questions and some other trade questions. Lots of them coming through on Twitter, coming through at 3SN Fantasy. Keep sending them, and we'll answer them next here on the Cedars Sports Corner, NCTV 45.
Come to Big Polly's Sports Bar in Newcastle.
The place is spacious with all the seating you'll need, with 2 bars and a huge menu that features wings, pizza, sandwiches, burgers, pasta, and fries.
Big Polly's
is just right to watch the game. You'll love the sports memorabilia throughout the bar. There's plenty of parking too.
Big Polly's Sports Bar
in Newcastle at 207 East Long Avenue. Call 724-658-8800. That's 658-8800. Gentlemen, if you want to look your best with high-quality clothing, then I recommend Main Street Clothiers and Custom Tailors in downtown Newcastle. Mike Caggiano is the owner, and he and his staff have been in the business for decades, and they will always give you the right recommendations. They also carry Rondinelli tuxedos. That's Main Street Clothiers and Custom Tailors, 210 East Washington Street, downtown Newcastle. Call 724-652-3851.
Back to the Fantasy Football Toolkit, brought to you by NCTV45 here on the Cedars Sports Corner. Before our break, we were talking about some of the waiver wire options, and we want to talk about Trevor Siemian. Greg, I know you're a big fan of the guy. Is he somebody that you think is worth picking up at this point, though?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think right now he can definitely add you the value that you need. Just a tremendous all-around type player. Yeah, no doubt.
And a couple of running backs we also wanted to mention. Drain Washington in Detroit, kind of splitting with Theo Riddick, but look who they're playing this week. They're playing Chicago, giving up 140 yards per game. So keep an eye on him. And how about Terrence West playing Oakland, who has a very porous run defense as well? If Dixon is definitely out this week, he could be a plug-and-play. So which one of those two, if you had a preference, would you go with?
I would probably go with Dwayne Washington, only because he is your more traditional running back. Theo Riddick, he's going to be getting a lot of the passes from Stafford. But the running game itself, the ground and pound type stuff is going to be mostly Dwayne Washington. So I see some really good yards coming out of this guy.
If you're in PPR, then I think Riddick probably
definitely,
gets
PPR would be
your
ready.
league, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Exactly. So with that, we'll give real quickly our winning with the wire team, which means a team that you create just from players who are on 50% or more of waiver wires across all league platforms, and your goal is to get a 90-point week out of it, which is very possible more often than not. So we're going to go with Siemian at quarterback. We'll go Washington and Howard as our two running backs. That'll be hopefully a running back plenty game out there in Chicago then. Our wideouts, we're going to go Jamison Crowder and Cole Beasley, hopefully getting our 7-8 points pretty consistently with those two. We'll take the risk on Hunter Henry with Gates being out. We'll take Pryor in our flex position, and we'll go a couple Washington guys against Cleveland for kicker and defense. Hopkins and then the Washington D. I also want to mention on defense, if you have an open spot, I might pick up Philly's defense even though they're on bye this week. Have you seen the way their defense has been playing? Is that am I too crazy for thinking that?
No, I mean, so, back in the day, if you say they're going up against a great Steeler offense, people think you're crazy. It's a different time now. When you're doing things to shut down Brown, Williams, and Ben, I definitely think that merits consideration.
I am surprised at you, James, though, for saying that if you have an open spot. If you have an open spot, shame on you. You don't have the right players. And secondly, why would you go for a defense? I know they're great.
Well, I'm saying, though, if you've been doing a plug-and-play defense every week so far this year, this is a team I think you can start more often than not the rest of the year.
Right, I agree. I agree to that. But, but if you have, let's say, somebody like a Yeldon out there that's been underachieving, maybe drop him for somebody like a Dwayne Howard rather than going for the Washington or for a defense like Philadelphia.
Absolutely. If you have two defenses already, get rid of your second defense to pick up Philly, I guess is the way I'm more looking.
Thank you.
All right, let's answer some of your start-sit questions and some of your trade questions. Remember, you can send them all to us on Twitter at 3SN Fantasy and at the FF Toolkit with all of your answers to them. Let's start with a couple trade questions that came in. First question that comes in from Wes Miller. He's really stacked a wide receiver. He wants to know if it would be a good idea to get rid of Kelvin Benjamin and stock up on tight end and get Greg Olsen in return.
Oh, man. Again, I always say this, but depend who else you have on your team.
He is stacked at wideout. He's got 3 other ones.
If he's already stacked at wideout and, if he needs a tight end, I'm good with that.
Yeah, Benjamin's a quality receiver, no doubt about it. I think a lot of people would love to have him on their team, but once again, there are very, very, and as I said in the first show that I did, there are very, very few good tight ends out there, and Greg Olsen is one of those star guys. Him and Gronk are like the 1 and 2 or 1A. Right. So yeah, definitely, that's a trade worth looking at.
Here's an interesting 2-for-1 trade from at Bill the Bills fan, which is clever enough. He's asking, he's getting rid of Carlos Hyde and Latavius Murray to get DeMarco Murray back. So you're getting rid of 2 running backs, getting 1 back. He also has a couple good guys. He has David Johnson already, Theo Riddick, and Christine Michael already. So it's not like he's in dire need of a lot of running back depth.
I don't think.
I think he's given up way too much.
Yeah,
That's my thought,
The
too.
value's not there.
DeMarco Murray, injury prone. Remember that. Carlos Hyde had a great game last week. He's on the upswing right now. Latavius Murray,
Split in time.
right. But find somebody else other than Carlos Hyde, then maybe look up.
Yeah, or maybe if he can get a lower end running back or wide out back as well,
Right.
maybe that can even it out a little bit more.
Right.
I think, the injury concern is a big
Yeah,
one.
the value's just not there in this
Right.
trade.
Absolutely. Next one from @PS2K. He wants to give up Brandon Marshall and Mark Ingram. He gets back Jamal Charles, Snead, and Tevin Coleman.
That I don't think that's terrible on either end, really.
I think that's a quality trade all around. Again, not knowing your team, we really need to know your league setup, what team you have all around. But in terms of a 2 for 3, I think you're getting some pretty good depth and the kind of balance as Charles comes back here in the next week or two. I don't mind this at
I'm
all.
not opposed to it.
Yeah. I mean, Ingram is just a tremendous player, and he put up some really fantastic numbers. So it's almost a 1-for-1 type situation. And and as Alex said, you need to take a look at your team. Where are your holes? And I mean, if you're just trading just for the sake of trading, no. But if you have definite holes that you need to fill, and you already have 2 really, really stud running backs, and these guys are flex options, then that's a different story.
Absolutely. Well, that ends up the trades, but we still have a couple start-sit questions that have just come into us within the last hour, actually. First, SS Sleeper sends us a quarterback question. He wants to know if he takes Stafford at Chicago or Phillip Rivers against New Orleans. I have him personally ranked number 2 and number 3, so this is pretty much a toss-up for me.
I love Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers, definitely.
I think I'm going to go with Rivers on that, too, honestly.
And another quick start-sit question in the flex. Patrick Cannon, asked whether he starts Sims against Denver, Jeremy Hill against Miami, or Will Fuller against Tennessee. This is a PPR league.
Well, Miami has the 30th defense overall in the league. So that's definitely, something to think about there. Of course, you got to worry about Giovanni Bernard.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, that defense is so bad that you could see both Bernard and Hill getting a decent point total from either of those guys. And I like going by matchups, honestly. So that's probably, I'm leaning in that direction.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I'd have to second that, definitely.
Yeah, Fuller had a good week 1. PPR maybe help him a little bit because Hill doesn't get the catches. Gio obviously does, but it's between those two for sure. I think I'm giving a slight edge to Hill, though. Well, that wraps up our Q&A with you guys. Again, you can send us all those on Twitter @3SN Fantasy and @the FF Toolkit. When we come back, we'll take a little bit of position rankings for the week and take a look at the Thursday night game and some other tidbits here on the Cedars Sports Corner.
If you want to score big, then get over to Shenango Auto Mall. George Fiacco, General Sales Manager, and his experienced staff will be glad to talk to you about all the amazing used car deals from their huge inventory. Lifetime powertrain warranties, extended warranties, and guaranteed credit approval. They have a body shop and full detail shop. It's not your normal used car lot. They also buy cars, trucks, and SUVs. Shenango Auto Mall is located at 2515 Elwood Road in Shenango Township. Call 724-698-7304.
The Branding Iron Bar and Grill, a great place to gather.
Some examples from the menu: 45-cent jumbo wings with 30 different kinds of sauce, meatball sub and fries, $5.50, hot cheese balls and burgers, and delicious large sandwiches. Stop in during happy hour, 4:30 to 7:30. You can dine in or take out. The Branding Iron Bar and Grill is located at 2221 Ben Franklin Highway, Edinburgh. Call 724-658-1210.
Again, I'm James, not the Saint, the Value Man Dodson. That's Alex, the Saint DeLaverson. Greg, the Mad Scientist Bashir. Thanks again for tuning in. Special thanks to everybody here at NCTV45, and special thanks to Angelo Parada for helping us get everything going. He had some interesting tidbit that we want to talk about here real quick in this final segment. Steelers had a terrible week last week. Okay,
It was disgusting.
Get that past us. If you're a Steelers fan or if you're a Steelers fantasy owner. The question is, how do you handle something like that when they have such a bad week? Any team or any player has a bad week. Coming into the next fantasy week, I think the big issue, even though they're playing Kansas City, I think the big thing to look at, and Angelo pointed it out big time, it's prime time. It's Sunday night. What last time that Ben was on a Sunday night game? Remember what he did?
6 touchdowns or
Yeah,
something like that.
it wasn't anything too impressive. It wasn't against like the top defense in the league either. So I think you have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
The other thing you have to keep in mind, too, you take a look at the top quarterbacks. Ben Roethlisberger is one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. I never worry about guys like Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah, you're going to have a bad week every once in a while. They will bounce back. They will get you points. Don't worry about it. Aaron Rodgers had a fantastic week last week. The week prior to that, he was awful. So, just relax, everybody. It happens. They'll get their points.
And that's and in our first show we did here on NCTV, what did I say about Ben? He will have these a couple games in a row where he'll just go off, and then he'll have a drought. So with the way Ben performs in primetime on Sunday night, this is definitely a week I don't worry about if I should start him or not.
Now the question is, D'Angelo Williams or Le'Veon Bell?
Oh, Le'Veon. You got my mind there.
Well, yeah, you have to start Le'Veon Bell. He is so far ahead in terms of overall talent in D'Angelo Williams. Not necessarily in how many points either or could get you, but the Steelers are going to put Bell as their starter this week. They're not going to.
He'll get 20 touches.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're not just going to give D'Angelo Williams a fair share of touches just because he did well the past few games. They know who's coming back. Le'Veon Bell's your guy. Arguably, I think he's the most important player on that team. You can make the case even more than Brown or Roethlisberger.
Oh, I think so too. And I like your point about, what's happening with Roethlisberger. Before those 2 6-touchdown games last year, he had 1 touchdown in the 3 games combined before that and 1 in the 2 games combined after. It's something ridiculous like that. Honestly, Big Ben's performances week to week changes as much as Alex's voice does from week to week.
Listen, man, I have allergies. Okay, I can't help it.
We'll go with that.
My voice may change. Listen, my voice may change, but my fantasy predictions are always at the top, right?
Let's look at another player that's been a bit of a disappointment all throughout the year, Gronkowski. Missed the first 2 weeks, did not do well last week. I know our friend the Black Shadow very much disappointed with what's been going on there, and he's questionable again this week. What do you do with Gronkowski, especially when it might be Julian Edelman having the quarterback?
With Gronk, you got to be patient with Gronk. What I would actually do is, first of all, he's a first-round draft pick. You have to play the guy because he will produce.
If you don't, then you'll regret it.
But on the same token, if you have a better flex option, I'd play him with the flex option. Let's put it that way. I wouldn't put him anywhere else but the flex option. But if you choose not to play him the flex option, find yourself somebody like a Travis Kelce or somebody that's a mere mortal, so to speak, that can actually give you 6 to 7 points.
Hunter Henry coming, like we mentioned earlier. He's a good plug-and-play option.
Don't drop Gronk.
No. Maybe try to trade him.
I don't know if
try to trade him.
I don't know if any serious fantasy player is thinking about actually dropping Gronk. Anyone that's thinking rationally instead of emotionally,
thank you,
is thinking about doing that.
But this would make good trade fodder.
That is something to keep in mind.
I'm personally the guy who's going to go out there and talk to the Gronk owner and say, hey, he's really not himself. Let me take him off your hands.
Yeah, you're trying to hustle someone. Earlier in the
absolutely.
show I said, if you're winless after this first few weeks, I'm not panicking yet. But if I'm that guy, I'm trying to manipulate that person.
Well, absolutely.
And using Gronk as bait.
Yeah, don't forget.
Don't
forget Brady coming back next week.
That'll
help
big
time.
Everything will get better next week.
Exactly. Well, we got a couple minutes left. Let's take a quick look at this week, specifically tomorrow's game, the Thursday night game. Miami traveling up to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. First, I want to talk about the Dolphins running back situation. Neither one really stepping up in the absence of Arian Foster. Jay Ajayi got the overtime touchdown last week, so that was big. But really, I think Kenyon Drake might be the better long-term solution. He actually had more touches than Ajayi last week. Do you agree with that?
I would definitely agree with that. You know what? If you're looking for a defense, Thursday night's defense in Cincinnati against Miami, I really see Cincinnati just just walloping the heck out of Miami on the defense.
Thursday night defenses, especially the home team, always end up being a very solid pick.
Well, also at the same token, like I said in the previous segment, with Miami's defense being 30th overall, at the same sense, I'm starting Cincinnati players if I'm weak, basically at any flex position.
Definitely, and obviously A.J. Green is one of our top picks for the
He's
week
starting
at
no matter
wideout.
what.
Yeah, he's starting no matter what. I got him ranked at number 2 for this week, looking at our rankings. Who would you rather have this week, though, if you had a choice between Jeremy Hill and Gio Bernard?
Jim Bernard.
Bernard.
He's obviously ahead of Hill at this point in time.
He's about as much as Ben is, though. He'll have a great week and then he'll do nothing. That's my only concern.
Yeah, but
obviously.
the fact that since he's going up against
Miami,
that's a matchup. They're both going to get their fair share of points.
Well, the same thing. You can probably pick up the Red Rocket and Andy Dalton off the waiver wire in a lot of leagues.
There's going to be a week to start him. It's going to be this week.
And you know what? If you do need a quarterback, Andy Dalton would be the guy to go after right now.
Mm-hmm. He's still out there in about 30 to 40% of leagues. Very good chance he's out there in one of yours. Well, gentlemen, I think that's about going to wrap it up here for another edition of the Cedars Sports Corner here on NCTV 45. Thank you again to everybody here at the station for all their support and all their help. Thank you again to the Saint and the Mad Scientist for joining us here on the 3SN Fantasy Show. Gentlemen, last thoughts heading into Week 4. What are your thoughts going into this, Alex? What do you got?
It's do or die time for me, especially in my leagues. With all the injuries I have, I'm going to give it another week or two, then I'm going to start really putting the gas pedal on, pursuing trade options.
I think right now what you want to do is take a look at your weak spots and fill them with the value players. Don't panic. Just make it to the number 6 position by the time playoffs comes, and it's a whole new season then.
We'll have all position rankings, and you can send us more of your start-sit questions all the way up to kickoff at 3SN Fantasy on Twitter. For the Saint and the Mad Scientist, I'm James the Value Man Dotson. Thank you for tuning in to the Cedars Sports Corner. Have a good night.
This program furnished by Sporting Goods, 23 East Washington Street, Newcastle. Call 724-658-2535. Funding for this program provided by Washington Center Physical Therapy, Norm A. Gabriel, MSPT ATC owner.